Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Sin, Jim, George, you're all there?
We
Yeah,
are.
we're here.
Good morning to all.
It's
Hi,
amazing.
George.
Welcome
Hey,
to
George.
Hollywood Squares. No. Okay. Hey, the reason for my call, I heard from Brian Moran via Facebook and Messenger, and he reminded me that Tom and Jane are going to be married 50 years this month. Can you believe it?
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Are we
Hey,
that old?
Larry.
Are we that
Hey,
old?
Larry.
Time go.
Larry,
What?
is it true that Tom and Jane met at a 4-H picnic in 44?
I don't know. No, I never heard that story.
Well, no, but he was in a cow milking contest, wasn't he? And Jane was just swept off her feet.
I have no idea.
All right, well, we'll have to ask them.
Yeah. So Brian asked us to, share some memories. That's one of them. So I thought we just, in round robin style, just share memories. What comes to mind, George? Let's start with you. What comes to mind, Tom and Jane?
I gave this a lot of thought. This is more you, myself, Tommy, and Silvio. But the one amusing event that I can recall as being almost monumental, as we all know, Silvio was a bio major. And this one particular semester, he must have been studying genetics. And this was the year this was the year that we lived at the apartment on Franklin Street. And I can remember Silvio coming home saying, I've got to breed and study fruit flies. And I'm thinking,
God.
how frightening can that be? A tiny fruit fly. So he comes in with this petri dish and he sets everything up. And Larry, as you will remember, Tommy and Silvio had the front bedroom. That was more the penthouse. You and I had that very tiny, small bedroom. Not that we complained, in the back that wasn't very well lit. Again, we're not complaining. So the petri dish goes in the window sill on the front. And, days go by and days go by. And this one particular day, we had all left. And, where Silvio was probably out with Joanne. And the three of us, God only knows where we were off to. When we came back that evening, it was kind of a sunshiny day. Come in the house, walk up the stairs, if you'll remember. Tommy, Silvio hadn't come back. He was with his Juliet. And Tommy walks into the front bedroom and in true fashion, and I can hear him saying it, oh my God. And, you and I kind of went through that narrow hallway into the front bedroom. And I will tell you, and I've been known to exaggerate, but this could be more the truth. There may have been 800,000 fruit flies all over the place. You could have walked in there with a baseball bat, started swinging and killed a couple 100,000. So me, not the bravest guy in the world. By the time you guys called me, I was all the way down by Wilkes College. That was 3 blocks away on River Street. We come back, and the question is, how do you get rid of all these fruit flies? And I guess what Tommy or Silvio did, not sure, he opened the window and we're trying to shoo these things out. So, that was in one of the funnier moments that I can recall of the 1,000 that we had.
How did we get rid of the? How did we get rid of the fruit flies? I can't remember.
I think we opened a window and politely asked them to leave. After several weeks, there were only about 100,000 left, in the apartment. But that is one that comes to mind. So I've got more, but
okay, all right, Sin.
I have a million, and I started writing some of the things down last night, but one, I don't know. I'm thinking about when Jane and Tom first met. Jane and I were in a methods class, and we were sitting in class one day, and I was late as usual, and so we're sitting shoulder to shoulder, and she's speaking to me, and I'm speaking to her, and she's saying, I met this guy this weekend. Wait, tell me what happened. We went to a picnic. There was a picnic of, I don't know where it was, but it might have been Hazleton. I don't know where it was. Anyway, Tom had borrowed his mother's car, her new convertible. And I think it was blue. Anyway, it was a convertible. And Tom and Jane ran into each other at this occasion. And Jane had no way to get home. And Tom said, no problem. I'll drive you home. I have a car.
A student with a car.
Right.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Well, she was impressed evidently. So they get on the road and they're driving down the road to Misericordia, and halfway there, or maybe right away, it starts to rain. So Tom, no problem. We'll just put the hood up.
Okay.
So the top.
Yeah,
So-
the convertible top, yeah.
Yeah, so he en route begins to put the top up, and the top only goes halfway up. It's sticking straight up. He can't get it to move. He can't get it to move. And it's raining. This is her great car. And what was his mother's name? Oh, God.
Joanne.
No.
Tom's mother?
Yeah.
Oh,
His
well,
stepmother. I can't remember what her name
it
was.
was a
but anyway.
stepmother. I thought her name was Joanne, but
No.
no.
Wait, no, definitely not. Anyway, they had to ride all the way home with the hood straight up in the air on the highway, all the way down the mountain, all the way back up the mountain to Misericordia.
Sailing
my
down
God.
318.
Sailing down 309 or up 309. So that was the beginning of the relationship.
All right.
And it was hysterical to start out with. It continued, the relationship continued to be more hysterical as they went on. And they're still hysterical and fun to be with. Just when I think of them together, all I can think of is laughter, fun, and good times.
That's for
Yes.
sure.
So, and yes, through marriage, as we all know, certainly within 50 years of marriage, there are ups and downs, and they've come through them, and happily, and nobody was injured or hurt in the process. So that's a great thing.
That's a good thing. You know what comes to mind when you mentioned driving? When we lived in an apartment, George, you remember? I had my brother's Mustang,
I remember.
and the starter broke. The starter for I don't know. Once it went, I never replaced it because we didn't have any money. So we had to use the car. I had to park it on a hill. And if you have a clutch, as long as you get the
Right.
car rolling, you can pop the clutch and start.
Right.
So one day Tom says, "Hey, mind if I borrow your car for take Jane on a date?" I said, "Well, yeah, I like Jane. We've all gotten to know each other by that time." So they go on a date, and I said, "Just remember one thing: you got to park the car on the hill." So next morning, I didn't talk to him. He parks it on the hill, and everything was fine. He told me he had a great time. So I go out to use the car, and of course, you can imagine this, to go anywhere, I had to first turn the wheel, open the door, turn the wheel, push the car out into the road so we can get a little momentum to start it. And I start to go down the hill and pop the clutch, pop the clutch, pop the clutch. And guess what? There's no gas. There was no gas. It was better. Its gauge was buried, empty. And I went, holy shit, there's no gas. I had to get the car over to the side of the road and then buy gas. And later on, Tom, how come you didn't put gas in the car? He goes, you said I just had to park it on the hill.
Nothing about gas in that equation.
I didn't say about gas. Life went on, but it was fun. It was fun.
I have, go ahead, George.
That the apartment for you, that for me, that particular year, I guess holds more memories, I think, than my heart and my mind can remember. And whenever I think about the four of us and all the fun that we had, it somehow at least started or gravitates back to the apartment. And Larry, I think you'll remember this one.
Yeah.
We, at one point, and I'm not sure how it started, and I'm not even sure why it developed,
Yeah.
went on what we called a garbage strike, trash strike. Now, the problem with that event is that the trash kept piling up, if you'll remember, in the kitchen, in that corner.
Yeah.
And it piled up and it piled up and it piled up. As a matter of fact, it had at some point gotten so bad that the fruit flies that were left in the building left because they couldn't even stand the disgusting odor. Why we did it, I don't know, because we actually punished ourselves. And then at some point, I think in order to clean it up, and God knows I was the mess of that foursome. I think I put on a hazmat suit to help carry out some of that trash. I mean, that's how bad it got. But again, wow. Another amusing story.
Well, you didn't have a hat. You had gloves though. You had gloves.
Oh, you know what? You're absolutely right.
Because
oh, yes,
we used to force you to clean the bathroom, and you wouldn't do it without gloves.
That was an event.
Yeah, that was. Oh, that's right. All right, Sin, go for it.
Go for it. Okay, another funny story. Tom went into the military in the reserves in order to, like everybody was trying to avoid war. So he went to the reserves, and he was away this one weekend, and Jane and I drove to Hazleton. I think it might have been, yeah, we drove to Hazleton I had never met his family. Okay, and except I met Tom a few times. I had never met his family, and we get to Hazleton, and Jane is so excited. She's saying, "Sin, don't curse. Whatever you do not curse," because I was noted for my colorful language. And she says, "Please, Sin, don't curse. These people are so nice, and they're very religious. Please don't curse." I said, "Okay, Jane, Jane, don't worry, I'll be on good behavior." And she said, can you not wear that coat? Do you have something else you can wear? I said, "No, Jane, I'm wearing my coat." My coat was a long coat that I had gotten from the Salvation Army for $2. It had Persian lamb on the sleeves. It was
Technicolor dream coat.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I had my floppy hat, Larry, as you know about floppy hats.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we get to the house, and I meet his little brothers and sisters, okay, sister and brothers. And somebody mentioned a bicycle, and I said, "A bicycle? Oh my God, wow, I love riding bikes." And they said, "Would you like to go out bicycle riding with us?" And I said, "Absolutely. Do you have an extra bike?" "Yeah, we've got an extra bike." So the brothers and myself and his little sister all get on these bicycles, and they give me a bike, and they said, "Okay, let's race down the street." So right in front of Tom's house, mind you, this is my first time meeting these people.
Yeah.
He's about ready for the ICU.
Oh, wait. So we get on the bikes, and they said, "Let's race." And I said, "Absolutely." And we started racing down the street, except my handlebar, they gave me the rotten bike, and the handlebars were all shaky. And I was racing really, really fast, and all of a sudden I lost control of the bike and went ass over head. The handlebars landed on the corner of my head right here, busted my head open, broke my pink rose-colored glasses. My hat went flying, my coat, there was blood blood everywhere. Well, actually, I didn't wear that coat. I switched the coat with Jane, and I used her real nice villager jacket that she had just gotten, and they were very expensive at the time. And the blood is gushing, and I'm saying, "Oh, can I curse once?" And then you can, "Oh, fuck." And I just, oh, fucking A, oh my God, my head, my God, the blood.
And Jane was saying the same thing, but she was talking about the coat.
She kept saying, "Sin, don't curse." "Oh, Jane, my fucking head. And she she's saying, Sin, calm down. Sin, Jane, I'm dying here. Fucking look at this fucking blood. And my hair was blonde, so now I've got blood everywhere. But Tom's uncle lived right across the street, and he was a doctor. So the kids ran across the street to the doctor. He comes out with towels and stuff. We go over to his house. They walk me over. Meanwhile, I've hit my elbow. I've crashed my leg. My head is huge.
Right.
My head is cracked. Anyway, long and short, the doctor gives me, and he says, I'm going to have to give you a couple of stitches. And I'm saying, no, I don't want stitches. Don't give me stitches. Don't give me stitches. Oh, my fucking head. Don't give me stitches. And Jane is saying, Sam, these people are very religious. Stop it. Oh, Jane, my fucking head. I can't. Oh, my God, my God. So anyway, he kind of plugged up his ears, I guess, and he's got his needle and thread ready to go, and he sewed up he gave me 2 stitches. No, it wasn't. No, I said, I don't want stitches. Don't give me stitches. He says, all right, I'm going to give you these clamps. Mind you, there is blood all over everything. The glasses are gone. They're totally shattered. Okay. And so anyway, he gives me these 2 stitches, and they walk me across, and Tom's mother lays me on the couch, and the kids are saying, Sin, are you okay? Are you okay? I had an ice pack on my head, an ice pack on my elbow, an ice pack on my leg. I was terrible. I was in such pain, but they were so kind to me. And that evening, Tom came home from the reserves. Now, mind you, this is my first introduction to his parents. And Jane had been telling them all along, wait till you meet Sin, you're going to love her. She's so funny. She's blah, 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 blah. Oh, you're going to have such a good time with her. But you're going to really like her. She's very nice. And here I'm, oh, fuck my head. So anyway, they get me on the
She
couch.
said she was only going to use that word once, didn't she?
Well,
Yeah,
she
once,
used it-
yeah,
she
just
used it
once.
in this conversation one time.
Yeah.
And also remember, it was 1971. Okay, so that was kind of an everyday word, still is in my vocabulary. Anyway, long story short,
No, long
Tom-
story short,
Tom, they get me the ice packs. They put me up in the bedroom upstairs, and Tom comes home from the reserves. Meanwhile, I have a headache that is the most excruciating thing I've ever had, just pounding and pounding and pounding. And the kids are trying, oh, Sina,
she
you
still has the headache.
Yeah, right. And I tell the story, I can feel my head. Anyway, Tom comes home and he kneels down next to the bed. Sin, what happened? Are you all right? Yes, Tom, I'm fine. But he starts making me laugh, of course. And I can't laugh because I've got such terrible
Stitches,
head
yeah.
and stitches. And the head was like, anyway, that was my introduction to Tom's family. And it turned out that I made a very big hit, evidently, because they talked about it for years and years and years, and remembered it. And so anyway, that's kind of a fun memory with Jane and Tom.
All right.
I've got a million of them,
All right.
but fine for the next one. Somebody
Okay, I
else.
got a short one. That's not this funny, but just I'll always remember it. Tom had this. He didn't use his closet. His clothes are always on a pile on the floor. And
Right.
I don't know if you remember that, George. Do you?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And months would. To me, I don't know how often he did laundry. Whether he just went back to the pile and put on clothes, I don't know. He didn't care much about his appearance, but after Jane arrived, and Jane was a frequent visitor, as was Sin, and over the months, I noticed that I'd go in that front bedroom and there was no longer any pile. And suddenly there was clothes on a hanger and things like that. And I thought, to put 2 and 2 together, I said, somewhere, some way, Jane is involved in this. But I didn't ask any questions because, they were just dating. They were
Right.
just dating.
Just dating, right? That's it.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny. I wonder if he kept up that organization method. Probably he did.
I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
I have one more, and this one is all about Jane.
George, I'm sure you have more than one, but
I have many more, but in the interest of not running out of recording tape,
That's right.
this one is all about Jane, and it goes back. Actually, it goes back exactly 50 years. And that's what probably makes it so profound and at the same time significant to Tommy and Janie's 50-year event. It was May 4th. It was a beautiful spring night. I think I was on either my second or third senior year. I was visiting
Good for you,
those
George.
people who were left that I knew, and Janie was probably my dearest and best friend. We were sitting on a bench in between, Sin, you'll remember this, it was between, I think, the student center, the cafeteria, whatever, snack bar, and the dorm. And there was a bench there that actually faced the parking lot in the woods. So I can still say it. And we were sitting on that bench, and as we did so many times, Janie and I were just talking about just about anything that best friends would talk about. And along comes walking this girl, and she stopped and acknowledged Janie, and Janie acknowledged back. And she said, "George, this is Linda Cochran." And,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And I said, hi, pleased to meet you. Hi, Linda. And, she went walking off toward the direction of the dorm. Janie slid sideways and looked at me and shook her finger, and I can still see it. "She would be perfect for you, George. She would be absolutely perfect for you." We said goodnight. I went back. I think I was living at East Hall that time, and my roommate was John McCullough. And I said to John, I said, "As crazy as this will sound, I think I just met the girl I'm going to marry."
Wow.
And that is from the bottom of my heart, a so help me God story. In spite of my lackluster performance in keeping in touch with Larry and Tommy, through these 50 years, I have managed to acknowledge that May 4th to Janie on many, many occasions. And just 2 weeks ago, I reached out to Tommy by email and said, "Tom, 50 years ago, May 4th, is an anniversary that Lynn and I have, even more than our wedding day, celebrated with more excitement than the day that we got married." And I say to Janie all the time, "You have given me the best possible life that any guy could ever hope to have. If I were homeless, if I were living on a street corner, if I were dead broke, I would be the luckiest guy in the world." And it's
Wow.
because of you, Janie, that
Well, that's a real
made this
tribute,
possible.
George.
That is George. I didn't really know that story.
I
'Cause
didn't know that either, George.
Yeah.
That is so nice.
Yeah, that was it was almost, and you got to remember, we were graduate. I actually was going to graduate that year. It was, I think we graduated on May 25th or 27th, something like that. So if not for a few days, it would have been 2 ships passing in the night. And I remember going back actually the very next night to see Janie again. Lynn was strolling by, and I think the very first time I asked her out, we would work at the snack bar in the gym, and I asked Lynn if she wanted to. It was not necessarily a date, but we needed some help cooking hot dogs, and so that was my very first date with Lynn. But 50 years later, and actually I think we're celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary next year, July 1st. So I know how significant this is, and I know what it means to Lynn and I, and Tom and Jane, to each of you. God, I love you guys so much.
Right.
Just really do. Love you with all my heart.
That's beautiful, George.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And,
Well said.
it's interesting that we all, I think, we're also going to be married 50 years, George, this year.
Wow.
And, it's like, there's not many of us around who can
You're right.
say that,
It's true.
So
Well,
they
I'm
are-
not quite 50, but I think we'll make it. We're almost there. We're 46, 46 or 47.
Wow.
You were a bit of a holdout, Larry.
I know. But I'm grateful forever for my two friends, Tom and Jane, my dear friends. I love them. I'm especially grateful that in 2015, we planned a cruise along the East Coast from New York to Canada with Tom and Jane, and Tom and Jane got to know Joan. I wish you guys would get to know her as well. So let's plan on
That would be
keeping
great.
in touch, if not a reunion sometime. Next year.
We could meet halfway and do a cruise down the Mississippi.
Okay, all right.
Sounds like a plan.
Well,
that
I think
would
we should just wrap it up with some happy anniversary wishes.
Yes.
Yes,
Like a toast. And I don't have any wine or anything, but I like to say,
we've got some empty glasses right here.
yeah, well,
Make it look
I got a
like-
phone. Pick something up, Jordan, and say, happy anniversary, Tom and Jane. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy
Happy
anniversary,
anniversary,
Tom and Jane.
Jane.
We love you.
We love you.
We love you.
Take
God
care.
bless.
Okie doke. Love you guys.
See you now.